was the two-seater, of course, but then there were all the cars after that.
Yeah.
They were all pretty dramatic.
And that was all.
They brought back the two-door, and that didn't sell.
Yeah, yeah.
You see those every now and then.
Listen, I was at Motor Trend when that decision got made to make it Motor Trend Car of the Year. And the Audi A4 was out there, and I was like, Van, what about the A4? And he's like, Thunderbird. And I was like, this is about television, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about, because I really felt like the A4 was the car.
Oh yeah, way better car. I mean, they botched the launch.
Oh,
the T-Bird
crashed and burned. Yeah, it did not work
yeah,
out.
they failed. You know, expanding the model line is generally a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful. And
Yes.
you know, the four doors and all that you're talking about, that was all Iacocca's doing. And you know, Iacocca always felt that with some white walls and some extra chrome strips, you could create a new model.
You know, and thinking of just mentioning that the four-door Thunderbird looked sort of like a LeBaron.
Yeah, with a land outside.
Well, I'm just saying, think about that for a minute.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, I mean, four doors is not necessarily a bad idea. It's done wonders for Jeep. Right? I mean, you know, I don't know whether.
How about four-door minivans? Look what it did for minivans. I mean,
Yes.
to this day, it's such a puzzle why people were like, are people going to want a sliding door on a minivan? Well, they want two, and four-door pickups. Everyone
I totally
couldn't
agree. You have
understand
to
how
keep an
you could
open
do
mind about
that.
Yep. Yep.
And whereas GM and Ford, I believe, had been doing four-door pickups in Brazil for years.
You get humbled. Every once in a while, man, you're like, that's a bad idea. And then it sells the Casquillions. You're like, no, I was always on board with that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Mini. Although, there's some,
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, wait
keep going.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying Mini, you know, those were started out as two doors.
Yeah.
Then he had the four doors, and
And-
now they've got like a little Pac-Man sport utility vehicles. It's kind of not working out. It's kind of, can a Mini be a sport utility or a four-door sedan? And the answer seems to be no.
Right.
At least not right now. Not while trucks are so popular and fuel is inexpensive.
I ran into, I won't say his
Not
name
that they're
since
very fuel efficient.
we're on, but I ran into
That's true.
a former very senior executive at BMW North America. And he said, the problem with Mini is, at first they were going to just sell them in BMW dealerships.
Right.
And he said that was a no-brainer. And then somebody got the bright idea, no, they had to do separate dealerships. And he says they've never made a dime of profit.
Well, you heard what's happening now. They're talking about folks other than BMW dealers getting Mini franchises.
Because they're desperate.
I think they just announced that this week.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The
Because they're
desperation.
desperate.
Isn't it sort of like the Fiat Studios?
Oof,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not working out.
That's not working out.
It's like
Listen.
you're build the special
Somebody
place over
wrote
there.
something really nasty about that today.
And maybe we can get into this in the show, but you know, I read the analyst transcript with Mike Manley, and he said no new Alfa Romeo models, none. They'll refresh what they got, they'll electrify what they got, no new models.
John, I was just talking to somebody else about this, and you know, let's say it was 5 years ago, I would not have thought that Alfa would have crashed like it has.
Yeah.
I thought there was a huge amount of potential in that brand.
Right.
And I mean, because of
The heritage, the
Yes.
styling, the name,
yes.
the engines.
Yes.
But this appeals to this much of the market.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well, remember, Czech wanted to buy it.
But
They should have sold.
Yes.
And Volkswagen probably would have pulled it off.
Well, like they did a lot of other brands that they bought. John.
just ask the young person who has disposable income about what an Alfa Romeo is, and they may say,
How young?
Wasn't that the car in the Graduate?
How young? Yeah.
Okay, but that would
Maybe.
But that would be the
only
the only.
reference?
Yeah. So this thing of like this demand for that vehicle, that's why if you look at Sergio's initial big, you know, this is the rollout, that there was this pent-up demand in the United States for Italian vehicles. Really?
Wait a minute. Do you think the quality and reliability has anything to do with the fact they haven't really taken off?
No, that's got everything to do
Come
with
on.
it. Yeah.
It's nowhere.
That's right.
I was shocked at how bad it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the editor-in-chief of Motor Trend magazine getting stuck in the middle of an intersection with the wheels locked up on the vehicle and they can't even move it. They got to flatbed it and drag it onto the flatbed. And he wrote it all up. I mean, you talk about painful, painful.
Okay, we're ready to get open and start the show right now. But first, I have to give a shout out to David Grisco, who just wrote into us to say, okay, I'm all set for my Autoline After Hours on my second monitor. Craft beer, check. Cheese, check. Crackers, check. Yep, all set. Watch Autoline After Hours live at Autoline.tv every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 12 p.m. Pacific. You can subscribe to this podcast for free by searching for Autoline in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube.
Autoline After Hours is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, your journey, our passion. Lear, a global leader in automotive seating and electrical systems. Borg Warner, propulsion solutions that support a clean, energy-efficient world. And by DIA MTS, for advanced manufacturing machinery and lightweight components.
All right, everybody, welcome to Autoline After Hours. And Gary, wow, we got a real show and tell show today.
An amazing show and tell show today.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be astonishing for some people. I know that it was for me when I went through the exercise.
Yeah, and we'll explain to everybody what we're hinting at here in just a moment. But we got to let everyone know we got Jack Keebler back from Keebler Auto.
Thanks, John.
And Keebler Auto, it's not a repair shop or anything like that.
No.
You're
No sign out front.
You're like this
Dealership.
consultant and all this stuff. So
Right.
Yeah, just so the people know.
Thank you.
Yeah, real good. But we got to introduce our special guest for today from a very interesting company called Caresoft, and it's Mathew Vachaparampil. I just butchered it. No, let me get this right. Vachaparampil.
Perfect.
Close enough?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Mathew, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, John.
So you've got, I think, a technology that is going to revolutionize competitive benchmarking in the industry, because you've got the way of being able to see into a car without having to tear it down. You know, explain what is the technology, what is the process here?
Okay, so what we do is we take a car, we put it in what's known as a high-energy scanner. It's essentially a big CT scan. It's around 100 times more powerful than the one in the hospital. And you scan the car, and you essentially see what a doctor sees in the hospital with a human being. And you see the insides of the car and so on. And the way it works is you have a source and a detector. The car is there, and you bombard it with rays at 9 keV, 10 keV, kilovolts, megavolts, sorry. And in the hospital, it's around 80 kilovolt. So it's around 100 times more powerful.
So you're bombarding this thing with energy.
Yes, and at around 14, 15, you activate a megavolt, you activate nuclear fission. So
You're getting close to nuclear fission.
that is under 40% more.
Okay.
But you don't want to crack the isotopes and the ions in the atoms and so on. So
So how long does that take?
It takes around 2 weeks, and
For one vehicle?
One vehicle. You scan the vehicle, you lift it up and down, and then you rotate it around 1.5 degrees. You scan it again, and you get around 10 million images that you reconstruct together. You're very familiar with what's known as a pixel. Pixel is nothing but a 2D image on your phone. We use what's known as a voxel, which is a 3D cube, which defines each element of that car. And then we use density as a way to segment materials out. And we use a scan mainly for geometry to get the 3D dimensions of the car.
So what kind of hardware do you use to capture the information and store it?
Okay, so the data that comes out is coming in what's in rec files. It's around 2.5 terabytes of data, and then we have to reconstruct it. And once it's reconstructed, the next step is to segment the data according to densities. So you see the whole car, you're able to segment out the aluminum, the steel, the copper for wire harnesses or for charging cables, plastic and so on. and then from the next final step is to create the CAD, the engineering computer-aided design model out based on this physical
So
representation.
how long can the customer expect from the point that the vehicle is dropped off to your facility till they start receiving information or data that's usable for them?
Okay, so now before we used to wait till the end to finish, but now what we do is customers are interested in, say, body in white,
Right away.
motors.
They're eager for that information.
Yes, so we are processing the data based on the priorities of the customers, and it could be from the time we finish scanning the car, it's around 4 months 4 to 5 months that we finish the whole car, but we start delivering information within month 2 right away.
And if in a traditional tear down, where you literally put it on a hoist and start getting out impact wrenches and take it all apart, how long would it take to get that data?
Okay, so that data would be a month and a half. So that is only what we call 2D data. It tells you what has been done. So you have all the parts, you have photographs, you have weights, you have some maybe surface scans and so on. What's unique about our data is we think in 3 dimensions. So it is intelligent data, and once you have the CAD data, and we also do a physical tear down to get the material properties. Today we cannot get the grade of material from the scan.
But you can tell steel from aluminum from copper, but you
Yes.
can't tell what grade it is.
Yes, so we cannot say whether it has 0.5% nickel or cadmium for crash properties.
So does the vehicle still have to be sacrificed then?
So the vehicle that goes through the scan, except one, all the vehicles have come back and they're functional. There's no issue.
I think that could be a big deal for an engineering team that's trying to figure out, say, vehicle dynamics. They want the vehicle whole versus, hey, here it is back in pieces in the back of a pickup truck.
You buy another one.
Yeah.
If it's when early on, it's sometimes very hard to get a hold of vehicles.
Sure. So one of the use cases, so we launched this technology in 2017, and one of the use cases that is now coming from customers is the whole is to scan a crashed vehicle. So the whole difference or the paradigm shift here is that you're thinking in 3D. More than 3D, it is intelligent data. It allows you to say, do a what-if analysis. So once you have the 3D CAD and you can do a crash or a dynamic simulation, torsional stiffness or a CFD analysis, you can change, for example, replace the frame with different materials, check how the crash performs, and so on and so forth.
Could you change the spring rates and look at different ride quality?
I'm not very sure. We've not
Change
done
the
that.
body structure?
Yeah, you can change the body
Softer,
structure.
stiffer body?
Yes.
So, but this is with the CAD data that you've
CAD data and CAE data.
right.
And
So when you do this, you do the scan, then you take basically a point cloud of the
So
information
point
that-
cloud is 2D. We work only in 3D. So we think point cloud is only a surface. So one of the things that a country, a big country, which is one of the biggest automotive markets, they're masters at doing point clouds. So, but the problem with tearing down a car and scanning part by part and trying to put it together is the body flexes, the instrument panel flexes, so it is not a true geometry. So we are, our base reference is the high energy scan in 3D. And that's what we use as the foundation.
What CAD system do you port the
We
information
can port it into NX, into CATIA. It depends on the customer preference. We are CAD neutral. We bring it in as STEP or IGES. And then depending on what the customer wants, we give it to them in their system.
So the amazing thing that I had the opportunity before the show to witness was the CAD model.
Yes, that's the CAD model in a virtual environment. That's in our own VR platform, which is Cornea.
Okay, so I'm sure the audience is going, what the heck are they talking about?
Sure.
Why don't we show them?
Sure.
So let me get this. Mathew, just sit right there. So you've got this virtual reality goggle set.
Yes.
And I'm going to get that. And then you have two manipulators.
Sure.
So let's see if I can do this.
Let me just
And
tighten
I know you're going to have to help me on
Yeah,
this.
let me just tighten it for you.
Okay.
Is it clear?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, and now I think,
Yes.
how do we get to a full car?
Okay, so look up, please.
Yep.
There's vehicle architecture.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So now if you could just walk in, go straight, please. Yeah, now you're in the full car, and if you
Yeah.
want to raise and lower it, you can raise the car.
Yeah.
And this happens to be a Tesla.
It's a Tesla Model 3.
There you go.
And you can just walk in, John.
Okay, so let me walk into the car,
Through the door.
and now I'm inside.
Yes.
I'm looking at the entire interior.
Yes.
And what I really like, I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. Whoops.
You dove through the
Went
seat.
into the trunk.
Well, now I'm in the trunk. What I'm trying to do is it's hard to see. I'm looking inside the armrest right now. And I can see an incredible amount of detail. So now I'm going to pull out a little bit. And I want to, whoops, I'm going to go to,
The suspension?
how do I raise it?
Oh, raise this one, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I want to go and take the audience inside and see
Yeah.
what it's like just to stick your head right inside of this thing.
And with your head, you
Whoops.
can, yeah. Yes,
I'm
now
not
may-
good at manipulating this, so
Yeah.
bear with me a minute. But,
Yeah.
yeah. And now I can look inside.
Rear suspension.
I can see the rear suspension. I can see nuts, bolts.
Spring.
I can see brake lines.
Bushings.
The amount of detail in this is really extraordinary.
So Matthew, all of this is in effect real.
Yes, absolutely.
And-
We have 55 customers for the last 2.5 years, so.
And so what John is seeing right now, if there was actual Model 3 sitting here,
Oh, yeah.
and he stuck his head
Sure.
in it, he would see basically that. And this is information that you guys were able to obtain purely from scanning this vehicle and then doing a post process and coming up with this.
Yes, we have patented the whole technology from start to finish. It's the ability to look at a complex object with multiple densities and to create the CAD. So that the scan technology has been used a long time for a long time in the manufacturing and quality checking space.
Right.
But this is the first time it's used for creating benchmarking. And
But Matthew, you also mentioned there was a medical connection?
Yes. So the medical field is far ahead in terms of radiology and analyzing human beings and so on and so forth. And in fact, when we first started working on this, my wife's a nephrologist, a doctor, and she used to give me papers or tell me what happens in the hospital. It was an opportunity to learn from her, and that's how we help figure out, because medical science is far ahead, and we are the first people who brought this into automotive.
So Matthew, the level of detail in terms of what you're able to obtain, the only other place that it would exist would be in the case of the people who were originally designing the product?
Yes, so we have all the information. So if I can just go, John, here.
Sure.
Yeah, so if I can,
Yeah.
so let me just go here. And if John goes in, so here, he can see here every part of the car, and he's inside every part of the vehicle. And let me just do one small thing.
Go ahead.
Let me just do one thing, John. So let's just make it. And John, if you could just click the mechanical subsystem, please.
Sure thing.
Yes.
There I go.
Yeah. Click that, please, and look to the left, please.
Yep.
Yeah, click on the transmission, please. So then if you could just walk closer, please. Yeah, closer. Yeah. And just put your head inside, John, please. So you can see every part, every gear, and so on. And John, if you could just look up and click explode, please. So here's the full construction of the vehicle, of the motor. So if you click that button, please. So that gives you all the information of that part. And the way we synchronize this is most customers have a PLM system, a product lifecycle management system, like Team Center. So this integrates in very well, and you're able to have the data.
Yeah.
The objective here is to have the same information as a competitor, and it is to understand quickly what the competition is doing so that you can learn. It's like us going to school. We try to learn from the past and doing a degree or and to shrink your product development life cycle, because product development life cycles are shrinking from 36 months now to 24 months and so on. So this is your edge to understand the competition.
So how is it that you're able to, I mean, for those who are listening to the podcast, they're probably wondering what the hell's going on here. And, but there are different colors of different components that we're seeing there. And so how does that get added to the
So for example
files?
here, so just John. John is just lifting apart.
Subframe.
And if you can look inside, John.
Oh yeah, look inside it.
Yes.
There I
and
go.
then you can see here inside the parts. That's because we have done the CT scan and so on. And what the different colors is, it's just CAD, and we have done it. We have rendered it for visualization. That's all we have done here.
I mean, are you using an alias package or something like that?
So alias we use alias for the CFD package, so to look at airflow. Here we've used virtual reality engine. We use our own VR software known as Cornea. We can give that to customers and they can visualize their data, but we run it on the back end of Unity and so on.
So you could do a CFD analysis on an engine just by doing your scan on the engine and then running
the CAD data, and then you could do a CFD analysis on the engine. Here, John has just shown.
How do I zoom out?
Yeah, this way. There you go. 1 second.
Okay.
Just a second.
So for those of you who are watching or wondering what these blue lines are, this is the basically.
Look up, please, John, for a second. Just 1 second. Just click mechanical subsystem for a second. Yeah. Then you just get you back. One
Sure thing.
second.
Yep.
1 second. Yeah. Now just click CFD simulation, please.
Okay.
Yeah, just now you can see the airflow, and you can do different. Now you can see the 150 kilometers per hour.
Right. So we're looking at it's like a smoke wand in a wind tunnel. That is.
Exactly.
Now it's wind running at 80 kilometers an hour. I'm going to bump that up to 100 miles or 100 kilometers an hour, and bump it up another to 150 kilometers an hour. So it's amazing how interactive this display is.
Sure. And so this is just a visualization tool. The real power is in the CAD and CAE data. So I think there's a paradigm shift that's very, very important. Traditionally, benchmarking always focused on what has been done. So you tear the vehicle, you see the parts, you know the weight, you have photos, you have some optical scans, which is the point cloud data. But that's all 2D. What we have done is taken the whole vehicle into 3D. And once you have 3D and it's CAE, you can it becomes intelligent data. You can do what-if analysis, why it is done, how it was done.
thinner section, thinner casting,
Right.
material change.
Sure, yes. So
Different welding.
Yeah, so absolutely. So if you replace it with lighter materials, how does it perform in crash? What is the cost impact? And it helps you learn quickly from the competition. So it's like the racetrack. So if your competition...
So whatever the next iteration is, it's going to be better. It's going to be lighter. It's going to go through the air easier.
Yes.
It's going to be cheaper to make.
Yes, it's like formula. You want to, and this benchmarking is the fastest way to understand what the competition is doing, and then do it quickly.
Like industrial Darwinism.
So who within an organization would be the one to cut you the check to do this?
Okay, so just to give you the application, first, so let me just tell you the value, and the value has increased exponentially since we started 3 years ago. Originally, our customers were engineering, but today it has become manufacturing, because once you have the data virtually, we can lay out the bill of process virtually, and there are tools like VisJack, Process Simulate, which estimate the times.
Well, planning wants to know that information too.
Right. Then manufacturing, then we can look at serviceability. So you can look at times to service the vehicle. We are looking at DFA, design for assembly.
How about design for disassembly?
That's the serviceability, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Then we look at costing, because you have a very high level of granularity of data with every shape and so on. You can estimate the machining surfaces. You have it electronically in CAD. So costing. Then we're looking at tooling. So say door design. Can you use the same old tool, change the blanks because it's just the reverse of the CAD? Then part standardization across product lines. So the application now is huge. And then also we have purchasing, folks, marketing folks, purchasing folks do not use CAD. This is the first time they're able to go into a competitive vehicle and ask the question to their supplier, okay, if XYZ or Tesla can do it or Audi can do it, why cannot we do it? And so on, and challenge the suppliers. They get they get a much better view of the product because it's never been portrayed to them in this way. A competitive vehicle has never been seen by them in this fashion.
Is there any issue in terms of intellectual property with some of this?
Okay, so just so for 100 years, so let's go back to Henry Ford. The Japanese, including Mr. Toyota, visited Dearborn before he set up the factory, right? So benchmarking has been going on for a long time, and photographs have been taken and weights have been taken for the last 100 years or so. What we have done is just create a 3D version of that benchmark, and
except for the fact that when you put this into the PLM system and you have all of the the granular information about all of it, I just begin to wonder.
So
It's just a better tool.
Sure. So the thing is, we are not using this data. So as Caresoft, we have no IP issues, nor the customers who buy the data. We have over 55 customers worldwide. Several of them have contracts with us for several years.
I mean, once the vehicles are for sale.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
There's
I
no
mean,
issue.
you could tear it down the old-fashioned way, too.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, let's take a look at the electrical in this Tesla Model 3, because I think this is extraordinary, how you can go in and look at every connector, every wire that's inside the car.
Yeah. So what we do here is just to visualize this is when we have the high-energy scan, we just isolate the density to copper, and you have all the wiring harnesses. So, and fortunately for us on the Tesla Model 3, the charging cable is aluminum, so there is no distraction.
Or what if they're using optical fiber?
Yeah, yes.
So-
Sure, or wireless in the future.
So that's just a second or third component that has to be
Sure.
recognized.
Yes.
I'm going to take this off for now.
Sure, thank you, John.
Matthew, is there any part of the car that you cannot scan, that putting it through your scanner would destroy any component, or is there anything that you cannot scan?
Okay, so nothing. We have had 7 cars go through the scanner. Out of the 7, 6 have worked. 1 did not work. I don't want to mention the name of the car, but we don't know what went wrong, but overall the car seemed to work, and I was one of the first people who drove it after it came out of the scanner in 2016.
So could it be like, you were talking earlier about the amount of energy that you're using to do this, that it could disrupt the electrical system, or?
There has been no
software?
major, with one of the cars that was scanned early on, we still have it, it runs, there's no major issue, so.
Hey, we've got more to ask you, but we got to take a quick break right now. In fact, we're going to give a shout out to our good friends at Bridgestone. Okay, we're talking with Caresoft and Mathew Vachaparampil. I think I'm getting closer to this.
Thank you, John.
We've got some questions that have come in from the audience here. Free Spirit 1 says, wow, seriously impressive. What's the maximum scan volume and accuracy?
Okay, so this is right now, okay, so let me answer the first question. So the scan volume right now is a little bigger than a pickup truck. Okay, let's say the heavy-duty pickup truck, a little bigger than that.
An S-Class Mercedes?
Sure, for sure, that's easy. That's easy.
That's easy.
Okay, so that's not a problem. There is a facility out in the technology originally comes from the U.S. Armed Forces, and there's a facility out west in California where I came from, where they can even scan a plane. Okay, so you remember I told you about the car being on a turntable? There, the plane goes and stays. The source and the detector go on a gantry, which goes around. So we are an ITAR certified company. We have access to these facilities, and I'm sure we can do, even if there's a need to do a plane also in the future.
Gotcha. In South Carolina, Osprey wrote in to say, it sounds like there could be military applications for this.
Sure, absolutely.
Are you guys doing anything with the military?
No, not yet.
And if they were, they couldn't tell us.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
Let's see, Albert Maniscalcos wants to know, could you see any value in scanning classic cars?
So it depends if you want to if you want to make a replica of the car and scan the car and
Or
get
maybe
a-
service parts?
Parts.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things which we struggle with during the scanning process is we struggle with low density materials, which is plastic and rubber and dash and so on. So for those, we still have to do the tear down, do a verification, because the density, it's like the old Kodak principle, where it is more dense, it becomes white, and where it's
Less dense.
it's
Black.
black. It's a negative. So if we have a classic car and you want to see everything, then we still have to tear it down, and then you can make 1,000 copies.
Yeah. Aussie 2U wrote in to say, this machine's essentially a faster Sandy Munro teardown. What's the difference between traditional teardowns and what you're doing, and especially from a cost standpoint?
Okay, so from a regular tear down is you tear down, you take the parts apart, and so on. So all the data you get is only 2D. You cannot do what is a what-if analysis. So here, the whole idea for us, the paradigm shift is to have it in 3D. It's just another way of doing this, and to load it in the customer's PLM system. Many of our customers are comparing vehicles from an architecture perspective now virtually. Before you could not do those. You can crash vehicles, you can compare the performance.
Is there a time differential between a mechanical teardown and a digital teardown that you're doing?
Mechanical teardown would be, say, a month or so. A digital teardown, by the time we get the whole data, would be 4 months.
I mean, I've seen programs where you only get access to the vehicle that you're interested in, the competitive vehicle, at the last moment, and you're trying to finalize decisions on the new vehicle you're trying to execute, and you really would like to have that information absolutely as quickly as possible. You don't want to wait 3 weeks or a month to get that information. So if you can turn that information around quickly, and as you say, you do it sort of counterpuntily, sort of on top of each other, you start sending data right away back to the customer.
Yes. So, and some of our customers have given us access straight to their PLM system. So as the data becomes ready, we just feed it in straight away. We have access. They've given us remote access from our facility.
And they can start making decisions.
Yes. So one of the key things that people look for now is body in white, especially on the architecture. Okay, so is the battery in the body in white, or do they have a separate cage? If there's a crash, what's the transfer function for the load during the crash? How much is absorbed by the battery? Body in white, how much is absorbed by the battery cage? So a lot of what-if questions are helped to answer. So if you really want to know, our focus is on knowledge. If you just want to know data, you can get it from a teardown. But if you want to know why was it done this way, and how was it done, and how much does it cost, you can get these answers very quickly by changing those.
Well, I tried your headset on before the show, and I did a fly-through part of the car, and I noticed that you could actually see the welds and rivets holding the body in white together. So, I mean, you could determine based on the number of those how much structural adhesive was being used and what type of fastener was actually being used to hold the body in white together.
Sure. So so we can see the welds and the rivets.
Right.
Glue and adhesive is like liquid.
But you can guess it's there, right?
We cannot see it very clearly. That is what we
But
get.
if there's no rivet there and there's no weld there, something's holding that section together.
That's correct. So, but when we do the tear down, we have to do a tear down also to get material properties.
Right.
Because from the scanning technology, we cannot, right now, we cannot estimate the material. We can tell you in broad brush what it is. In the future, we think with the machine learning, once you build a database of 20 cars, the holy grail is, from an automation perspective, can we look at the input and we have the output of 20 cars? Can we use machine learning to automate the process? That's point number one. The bigger, which is the whole nirvana, is if with 20 to 30 vehicles we can do what's, the whole idea is to do design, cost, and performance. So you have the design, you know the virtual performance, and then you estimate the cost. And then in the future, if we can build a database of 20 to 30 vehicles, and with AI and big data, we have plans in the works. We're around 10 to 20% there. is to start automating the design process.
System will iterate the design.
Right. So first is to look at what's been done and then see whether we can think forward. So first is look at your database of 25 cars, the first step, and say what's the optimum design. That's step one. Second thing is if you see the trend, like already now we can predict from an architecture perspective what a 2022 architecture looks like. Because we have seen 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. We understand what the curve is. We can predict what 2022 looks like. And if we can build that in our AI and do that automatically, that is the true holy grail on which you can really compress design cycles.
So there are a number of other companies, I mean, not a great number, but there are companies that are doing CT scans and X-ray analysis of vehicle, but usually it's at the component level rather than at the whole vehicle level. And they're doing this for purposes of quality, to make a determination whether there's something missing or a flaw in the design. You guys are looking at this as a bigger
Yes.
undertaking than just looking at quality issues.
Yes. So why companies are CT scanning components? So let's start with components. Castings. You want to see whether there are blowholes, porosity, so on. You can do that very quickly with a 2D X-ray. Okay. The minute you go to 3D, it takes a lot of time because you have to scan in multi-dimensions and reconstruct the data. So the folks who do car quality just to scan it and then look at the virtual image and so on, they're just looking for how does that reflect compared to the design. We are now getting requirements where we have different elements. So what you saw is the CAD data, but we also have the base voxel data, and we have built virtual reality software where we can overlay two vehicles. And the need now is OEMs or customers want to crash a vehicle. They have a virtual crash data simulation. We get the crash, we port the data, and can we do a comparison? And is the vehicle behaving the way they predicted it to be? And if so, what is the delta? And then most importantly is why is that delta happening? Why is that difference happening? So it's pure detective work. It's a lot of fun if you enjoy it.
Okay, so they crash their CAD model, and you have a scan of the physical crashed car that they have.
Yes.
So they basically have the digital twin of your...
Absolutely. So the digital twin, one of the things that's very, very important in all this that we are doing is what's known as the digital twin. It's a virtual representation of a competitive vehicle or your own vehicle, and you can use that for all parts of your process, design process, manufacturing process, service process, and so on. And with the crash vehicle, for example, in this particular example, the customers, what they do is they crash the vehicle, then they iterate and change it. If they can, it's very difficult to see inside a crash vehicle because when you put it apart, you can't see much. But if you can see it in a scan and then compare it with your virtual crash, they feel that instead of crashing, say, 10 cars, maybe you could get by with 5 cars and accelerate the design cycle time.
Mm-hmm. So if you see an excessive amount of intrusion, say the footwell, you could make a modification to the material or a material section or a subframe to reinforce, to reduce the amount of intrusion. And that all in iteration, not a crash. In other words, you failed the one, you have a baseline to work from because you have a crashed vehicle, and then you can work your way back from that to say this or that needs to change in order to reduce, say, footwell intrusion.
Okay, so John, let me clarify what I understood. So I know the use case. The use case is that customers have their own vehicle.
Right.
They have done virtual crash.
Right. Oh, virtual crash or actual crash?
They've run virtual crash.
Okay.
Now they want, when they're ready, they do a physical crash.
Right.
Okay.
They might not get to the result they think.
That's correct. That's correct. So what they want to see is they want to see a energy scan of this crashed vehicle, and by seeing what has happened and the virtual crash, they feel they can accelerate their design cycle.
Right.
So they just basically take their virtual crash your data from the real crash, lay one over the other, and
Yeah.
say,
Yes.
"Oops, we missed here," or "Gee, we did really well here,"
Yes.
and then make what you're talking about,
I mean,
those
this stuff is
changes.
important because I know manufacturers were struggling with those very low offset crashes, and there were a lot of footwell intrusion problems associated with them where an object was pretty much outside of the track of the car, and was sort of crashing into the front wheel and driving the front wheel into the footwell. And it was a very tricky process, and the interesting part was it didn't take much to fix what was wrong. In fact, some manufacturers added small pieces of metal. They just sort of bolted little brackets on, and somehow or another they managed to have that energy not transferred into the car, but sort of pass outside the vehicle and again protect the occupant's feet.
Yeah. We're getting down to the end of the segment. We've got some more questions coming in. So maybe rapid fire
There you go.
approach. Dave Tuttle, research fellow, says, is this tool economic or useful for design validation while under stress or failure analysis?
Yes, absolutely. That's the whole idea, yes.
Gotcha. Chuck Grenchey wants to know, can you estimate or determine the mass and weight of a vehicle?
Okay, so right now we have the CAD, we have the volume, that gives you the volume. We know the material. Yes, you can estimate the weight, but we also do a physical measurement of the weight when we do the teardown.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the car, you just put it on a scale.
Yeah.
It's called a scale.
Jonathan Brown, hello, Jonathan. Wants to know, can we use this process to reproduce parts for older vehicles no longer in production? And you
Absolutely.
pretty much said you
Yes.
could do that. South Carolina Osprey's back saying, is there any cross tie to 3D printing?
Okay, so absolutely the data. So this allows you to look at it from a manufacturing perspective, but if you want to look at parts from so the 3D printed parts, you cannot see the internal structures. So this allows you to see those.
SubGR77 asks, is this system for sale or do you provide this as a service?
We provide this as a service, and we also sell the data on the cars we have. We are now doing analysis. So I think it's very important to tell you that now we have moved on from data to knowledge, now to actions. Customers that come back and telling us, hey, tell us what the competition is doing. How can you help us reduce cost? What technology can we implement? What innovations can we do? And so it's the old one is we can give you bread and meat or so on, or I can give you the recipe. Or the other thing is just cook the meal and give it to you. So now customers are moving towards just give us the meal, because traditionally in a customer, they buy the data. It takes around 4 to 6 months. By the time all the engineers see it, it's a year. And by the time somebody takes an action on it, it's a year and a half. With Caresoft now, we do the scan. We come in. We're doing the full analysis, and as an engineering company, we're using technology, we're using the engineering knowledge and coming back and saying, hey, this is where you can optimize cost, this is where you can improve performance, this is where you can improve technology. So we're getting to preparing the food right away.
Albert Maniscalco is back asking, what's the possibility on the horizon with improvements to computational power?
Okay, so right now we think that as we get more data on cars and when we get the AI piece, that's when the computational power will be very, very helpful. Right now, when we have to process the big data, we're using very big servers, parallel processing servers to process it, HPC servers to process it. So as we go along the journey, we're a learning company. We did not have a great grand plan on this. We're figuring it out as we go, one step at a time.
Like a true startup would.
Yeah. So and then we have 1,800 engineers in the company. We've been around for 12 years. We're profitable, so we figure this out as we go.
But the physical scanning, I mean, that takes time. I mean, so even if you had the world's fastest computer, you're still going to be going through the physical scanning, which
physical
you said
scan,
2 weeks to do.
2 weeks it takes to scan the vehicle. Yes.
Right.
Okay, one last question. Giant Sky says, scalar expanse, threshold, and why the limitation on clients?
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I
either.
didn't understand the question.
Scalar expanse? I'm not sure. Okay.
Okay.
Do you limit who your clients are?
No.
You'll sell to anybody.
No.
Just show up with a checkbook.
So we have customers in America, in Europe, in UK, in Japan, China, and India.
All automotive?
Yeah, right now we have only entered the automotive segment. The plans are to expand to truck and bus and ag and construction and appliances. The application of this is in any manufacturing industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the key thing is, at the end of the day, I think it's important to, important to look at this way. We are all about optimizing design, cost, and performance. It's the why. Why do? You don't do benchmarking because you want to have some pretty pictures. You're either going to reduce cost or improve technology. And that's what it's all about. How do you take this data and knowledge and drive, improve design, cost, and performance and equip yourself for the future and reduce the product development life cycle time.
Well, I got to thank you for coming on the show. This is amazing technology. This is really good stuff. So, Mathew Vachaparampil, President and CEO of Caresoft Global. Thank you so much for coming on Autoline After Hours.
Thank you very much, John.
Yeah, real good. Hey, we're going to take a quick break right now. We're going to come back. We're going to be trying some ice cream and some other things. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Lear Connexus offers a parental controls application with geofencing that sends notifications regarding driving behavior and location, including curfew alerts, acceleration alerts, and speed alerts. All delivered to a smartphone application that includes vehicle location, driver notifications, and a report card of driving history, including notifications when predefined geographic boundaries are crossed. For more information, visit Lear.com.
The world is changing at an ever-increasing pace. No matter what the mode of transportation, there is always the need for an efficient propulsion system. And that's exactly what BorgWarner has been doing since the earliest days of the automotive industry. We innovative mobility technologies that reduce energy consumption and emissions while improving performance. Our proven track record has made us an industry leader in forward-looking propulsion solutions for combustion, hybrid, and electric vehicles.
All right, we're back. And Dr. Data's coming up in just a moment, but we're going to try some other things here. In fact, I got to show you some ice cream that we're going to taste here. First, we've been given a chance to try out this ice cream. It's called NightFood, and it's a way better way to try this out on Autoline. What better way to try it out than on After Hours? It's 400 calories per pint, which means you can literally eat the entire container, and that's what we want to do.
Container.
What's in the container? Well, this one.
No. Go ahead.
What? No. Okay. So let's try a sample here. You each get a spoon. Take a spoon and pass it on.
All right.
And we're going to try this ice cream. And this is cookies and cream. So take a test, and we want to know what you really think about it.
It's cold.
And
Jack.
All right.
okay, so a typical ice cream container would be probably over 1,000 calories for this. So take a taste, and let's try this other one. And this one is Cherry Eclipse. So Gary, go ahead, take a taste of that. Okay, we've only got 2 flavors here. It actually comes in 8 different flavors. It's sleep friendly, so you can pig out before you go to bed.
You know what's good about this is that sometimes when you have things that are reduced calorie, it has an odd taste to it.
Yeah.
This tastes like ice cream.
Yeah.
It tastes like ice cream.
Like real ice cream.
Okay.
It is real ice cream, but I mean,
You know, usually they say, but wait, there's more, but wait, there's less. Less sugar, less fat, fewer calories, packed with enzymes and amino acids. You can buy it at your local Meijer or go to the website, nightfood.com.
It's on sale now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently. So, honest opinion, Gary?
no, it's surprising to me that
It's as good as it
it's
is.
yeah, I mean, it's like diet pop. Sometimes you drink that, and it's just like,
Yeah,
it's not like
right.
real. It's not like real pop.
Right.
This tastes like real
Right.
good ice cream.
I especially like the cherry
Look at
cake.
Jack. He can't stop.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed it was diet without knowing that ahead of time.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay, we all give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, and the real ingredients in there are pretty fabulous too. All this fruit is pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hand the container back. You
No.
don't get
No,
it.
yeah, he's gonna.
So Carmen and Katie said, "Don't you guys eat that all?"
That's clearly a sign that the thing is legitimately good when you're just like sitting here eating it.
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing that we got to talk about. So this week, Ford sent out a promo to, I think, every automotive journalist in the business because they've got this electric Mustang that they're going to introduce next week, and they really want to promote it. So they sent this little icon of a galloping Mustang. It kind of looks like, you know, the Mustang on the front grille of the car.
Prismatic looking.
Very prismatic. But they sent you this, and then you had to go download an app. And I should mention, too, that next week, Autoline After Hours is going to be a deep dive into this electric Mustang. So you're going to want to tune in for that show. And also, we're going to record the show early. It's not going to be live. So send us questions. You know, shoot us an email, send it to viewermail@autoline.tv with any question that you want about this new electric Mustang, and we'll try to get to it. But back to what I got in my hand here, this sort of, you know, multifaceted look
like a hood
at a Mustang.
mascot.
So you
Cool one.
download the app, and Carmen and Katie are going to roll a video now of what happens with virtual reality with it. Or I should say augmented reality. So you take your phone, you point it at the little sort of toy Mustang. And you get that announcement that they're going to. It says
Electrical.
Untamed?
electric and untamed. And it's got how many days, how many hours, how many minutes, and how many seconds before the reveal,
Countdown.
which is this coming Sunday.
Sunday night, yeah.
Right.
In,
California? LA?
Yeah, it's before the LA Auto Show. It's not going to be shown at the LA Auto
Off-site,
Show, is my understanding.
Correct.
Just in this special event. But anyway, oh yeah, one last thing. Make sure you get us your questions before 9 a.m. Monday coming up. But now it's the time of the show for Dr. Data.
all right, so this is, I think you guys are going to guess the answer to this. So, Katie, could you please bring up the first slide here? Okay, so 58% global capacity utilization. Okay, capacity utilization, for those who are not familiar with it, means, okay, you've got a factory and this is how much you're using the factory.
So let's say you can make 100,000 cars a year and you're only making 58,000, you're at 58,000%.
So what you want to do is the higher the better, okay?
Right.
So what company does have it and would have it? Now, this might be a little giving it away to you guys.
Does have 58%?
Global capacity utilization.
And we should mention, 58% stinks.
Yeah, it's low.
That's not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's-
So rule of thumb in the automotive industry, you don't start turning a profit until
Right.
you hit 80%.
Right.
Right.
But once you get over 80%,
Gravy.
it's a money machine,
Well.
man. And if you can get over 100%, which you can achieve with
Right.
overtime, yow, do you make the money.
Right.
So 58%.
That's pretty bad. Okay, I'm going to guess Fiat Chrysler. Because you said it's what it is or what it could be, so that implies maybe there's a merger, maybe
you're
it
right on.
changes.
FCA, PSA?
Katie? So FCA's at
Oh my
58%,
God.
PSA's at 59%. So if the two come together, it's 58%.
Yeah. Wow,
And
that stinks.
So bring
Now-
the last thing up.
Oh, okay.
So combined, they would have 14 million unit capacity, 6 million unused. This is according to
So
LMC.
we're looking at some significant changes.
Okay, but
at both companies.
let's bore into these numbers a little bit. So if you looked at FCA's numbers,
But don't forget, it's global.
yeah, exactly.
But a lot of that's in Europe.
Oh, it's all Europe and China.
Yeah.
Because I think if you looked at North America, they got to be
Yeah.
what,
Oh,
yeah.
90%.
Yeah,
90% plus?
they're like cranking them here.
And you know the G plants are 100% plus, and yeah. So
Okay, so I want to ask you
But
guys.
who's the healthier partner?
Well, we just saw that there was 59% capacity utilization by PSA, so they're up by 1%. But still, I mean, but here's the thing, okay? When we talked about the announcement of these two getting together, it was also stated that all of the brands would continue to live.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And
That was announced.
okay, so here's my question to you guys. Given that, aren't we going to just start, I mean, assuming this comes together, assuming that there is agreement, aren't we going to lose a lot of stuff? And maybe we won't hear. Maybe we won't even notice it here.
I've been through several corporate takeovers and mergers in my career, and what the brass always says is, no one's going to lose their jobs, nothing's going to get cut. And it's all BS. That's what they tell everybody so they don't go into open revolt when these two companies come together. And you're absolutely right, Gary. They're going to take an axe to these organizations.
Well, I mean, let's step back a little bit. And if we look at when Fiat and Chrysler came together, the whole idea was, two healthy companies coming together, creating a bigger, larger, healthier company. But I mean, we just before the show, we were talking about how, Fiat and Alfa have not really been, everything they should have or were described to be.
Yeah.
Far fewer vehicles being sold, Fiat and Alfa Romeo. I mean, and Alfa, I guess they've even throttled back their plans recently.
In fact, look, we got to take another quick commercial break right now. We got to come back to this topic. This is way too good. But first, a shout out to our good friends at DIA MTS.
Whether they're electric, autonomous, or connected, tomorrow's cars must be developed quickly with the highest precision, and they have to be lightweight. DIA MTS can provide what you need, from advanced manufacturing machinery to lightweight components. Learn more at our website at www.d-iamts.com or visit our showroom right next to Metro Airport in Detroit.
All right, we're back. We were talking about FCA and PSA merging and what all might happen, but you're right, Jack. I learned earlier this week that there are no future models in Alfa Romeo's lineup.
Right.
This is coming from Mike Manley, the CEO of the company, who openly told the Wall Street analysts he's very disappointed in Alfa Romeo. And my guess is this is the end of the line, unless there's truly a merger with PSA and they can put it on a different platform. Because right now it's on, I believe, the Giorgio platform, which is rear drive. And in the segments where Alfa plays, I know this is heresy to enthusiasts, they don't see a rear drive platform being the future of Alfa Romeo.
Wow.
All right, so let's talk about some other companies that seem to be having some issues. So there was a report out of Germany that said that Mercedes-Benz was going to reduce its management staff by around 10% globally. And that would be about 1,100 management posts, and they'd be freezing wages for all 300,000 German employees. That's at Mercedes-Benz. Meanwhile, Nissan Motor Company Limited, the big, not the American Nissan, they announced their financial results for the first half of their year. Their fiscal runs not
Their
from
fiscal
January
March
to
to March,
March.
right.
Okay.
And they had a first half net income decrease of 73.5%. So here we have a German company basically saying, gee, we got to freeze the wages of our people. Now we've got a Japanese company that is like not making money. What's going on?
Well, what's going on is what everybody's aware of. The global automotive industry is slowing down.
Yes.
The U.S. has been the one
slowing down.
Well, in some cases, slamming on the brakes.
Yeah.
But it's all slowing down. At the same time, they got to pour all this money into electrification, autonomy, mobility.
Yeah.
And even if they're not going down that route, they're refreshing everything that they've got. So they're spending like crazy. And something's got to give. And what's giving is they're taking an axe to their personnel.
Yeah. There's going to be a shakeout.
So when you say there's a shakeout, is it going to be just plant closings, or is it going to be companies? What?
No, there are currently too many producers out there. There's too many folks chasing the same chickens, and I think there's got to be a shakeout in the industry. And I think the salvation was seen as these consolidations. I mean, the FCA PSA thing, that's just the latest one of those consolidations. But again, when you run the numbers and you look at it objectively, I mean, are we going to be driving Citroëns here in the United States?
I doubt it.
I doubt it.
No, Carlos
Maybe old
Tavares.
ones, but
No, Carlos Tavares said that he felt Peugeot had to come to the American market.
Yeah.
Had to.
it's been
I
a
wonder
slow process, though, hasn't it, John?
Well, it has. But now that he's got FCA,
Yeah.
or I'm assuming this merger is going to go through.
Yeah.
Is Tavares really going to want to bring Peugeot to America? In fact, this gets back to your original point, Gary. Are they going to cut brands or the? I think it'd be.
Would they even be competitive? Would they
no.
have the right fuel economy? Can they meet the emissions in the crash? And I mean, a European car is a very different car than a North American car. I mean, the sizes are different, the prices are different. Again, there's not true consistency in the different safety standards. I mean, it's not like they're just going to move all those sweet little French automobiles over the United States and sell.
No, and look, Tavares spent time at Nissan in North America. He knows this market.
You're right.
And
That's a good point.
if he's going to do this at all, we're just speculating. If he's going to take any Peugeots and Citroëns, bring them here, he's going to cherry pick which ones he thinks has a chance. And then what I'm getting at, wouldn't it be smarter to rebuild the Dodge and the Chrysler brand rather than try to introduce the Peugeot brand?
It's going to be expensive.
But I know,
Those are old
yes,
architectures.
I totally
All
agree.
right. So I mean, one of the issues that often gets talked about, like in the context of saying a Japanese or a Chinese car manufacturer coming here is that basically, there's no dealer network for them, right? I mean, that they would have to basically start from scratch. Here you have a situation where there's a great network with the consolidation of the various
PSA onto FCA
Right.
franchise system.
Right. So basically, all they would do is just stick up another sign in the window, and we're selling Peugeots.
Have you asked any Dodge dealers?
Yeah, but it costs so many millions of dollars to reintroduce a new brand. That's why I'm saying
Billions.
if you're going to go this route, bring a Peugeot over here, put a Chrysler badge on it, and just sell it as a Chrysler. I think trying to bring the Peugeot brand here and the Citroën brand here, even the Opel brand here, is not going to work. And guess what? If
How'd
Trump
that work for General Motors?
If Trump
We
does
tried that.
not raise tariffs on imported cars, there's going to be a zillion Chinese cars coming into this market. You really want to try to break through all that clutter? It's so much easier to rebuild an existing brand with new product than it is to try to do it with an all-new brand. Oh, well, what would be new to most Americans? Something called Peugeot.
It's a big change in strategy. I mean, FCA's walked away from cars. So, I mean, basically, PSA is all about cars. So, I mean, the idea of bringing PSA cars to the United States that have no history or have a questionable history here in the United States, I just don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they literally have panache.
Listen, I like French cars. I mean, generally they ride beautifully. They're nicely styled. They're lightweight. They're pretty efficient. So, I mean, they're appealing to me from that perspective. But I mean, can they meet the same quality standards, the same durability standards that North America requires? I mean, it's a tough market.
Well, look,
I think it may be tougher than.
I wish I could do a
Yeah.
French accent and I'd pull the cigarette out of my mouth, throw it on the ground, and say something to you that would be not very
something
polite.
in French.
Yeah. And
Merde.
okay, speaking of walking away from cars, so you talked a little bit about the Mustang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So we know that this is the Mustang-inspired electric SUV that they're coming out with.
Well, that's what they said originally.
Right. Now, what I'm hearing from Ford is they're just saying this is a Mustang.
Right.
It's
Okay.
electric, but they're not
It's
saying
4 doors.
Mustang inspired.
It's got 4 doors.
They were
It's got a
afraid.
hatch.
They're afraid to piss off all the hardcore Mustang enthusiasts.
The question
Right, but they
is,
just took the inspired out, right? I mean, so the SUV part still,
Yeah, but-
still
but the question
Right.
the question becomes, when have you broken it? When have
broken
you
what?
what is a ask the person who knows what's a Mustang, and then you say, well, how about 4 doors? How about a hatchback? How about a sport utility vehicle? Now, you know what? It may not be an issue because SUVs are what's happening right now. I mean, Alfa did it, BMW's done it,
Well, Porsche led the
Porsche's
way.
done it, Rolls-Royce has done it, Bentley's done it, so
Okay, but-
Ferrari's about to do it.
Okay, but if you think about what they've done, though, they've basically said, okay, I mean, they haven't said that, the X3 is a 3 Series, right? They just said, okay, this is part of the nomenclature of small, medium, large. So 3, 5,
Still
7.
an X3.
But
It's related.
yeah, it's sort of. But I mean,
Maybe it needs to be
I just or
Mustang
okay,
X or
okay. So
something.
Porsche has names, right? So they
Cayenne.
yeah. So they gave it a different name.
Yeah.
It's so this, I think Ford is doing something different here than what these other.
I agree with you, Gary. I think they really are in. What they have looked out on the EV field, and with the exception of Tesla, have seen that everybody's failed miserably. Everybody. And then they look at Tesla and they go, wow, sexy styling, terrific performance, all electric, really good range. Bada boom, bada bing, we can do that. We've got this iconic nameplate. It's called Mustang. So let's do a hot looking EV with long range, blistering performance, and see if we got a shot at, giving Tesla a run for its money.
Well, and the body style at the moment is crossover.
Right. So will there? I mean, to the point though. I mean, will we see other things that are called Mustangs, or are they going to sort of say, well,
Station wagon Mustang?
GT 500, GT 350, yeah, we will do more of those. We'll do those forever. But, brand extension, to get your point, when do you break it?
Well, look at pickups. I mean, pickups were, single cabs, 2 doors, then they became 4 doors. I mean, all kinds of things have happened to pickup trucks in terms of variations on the theme.
And
so why couldn't the same thing happen?
The industry was very worried about
Right.
adding these doors and doing, extended cabs, crew cabs. Very worried about it. Would people react badly against pickups? Didn't matter. But I think you're onto something here, Gary, that, with the Mustang, you got to be very, very careful. But I think when people see the vehicle, and you and I definitely have seen it, you're going to see Mustang proportions. When you see that vehicle, you won't think that's exactly like a Mustang, but you're going to go, yeah, I see the Mustang.
All right, so let me ask you guys a
wait,
question.
wait,
I want to ask you a question.
wait,
No, this would be a very good question for
There
you.
was a press conference a couple of weeks ago, and Mary Barrow was there, and she was asked.
Where I was going to go to.
Where,
Okay.
No,
she was asked, what about a Corvette crossover? And I forget what she exactly said, but it wasn't never.
right. Okay, but
Correct.
let's bring this back to the electric Mustang SUV. Is Mark Royce beating himself in the head because the Bolt came out and not something like what Ford is doing?
Well, Mark's way out ahead of everybody else with the Bolt in terms of,
But I mean-
affordable range.
Yeah, but it didn't work from a sales standpoint.
Right.
Agreed.
Terrific car. We all have
It's a
driven
great
it. It's
car.
a great car. The engineers did a brilliant job.
But no one
it didn't
wants it.
sell.
So,
No one
should-
wants it.
so maybe it should have been a crossover.
Or should it have been something that had a little bit more style and panache and,
Yes, it
notice I
should
use
have
that
been.
word, we could bring some French
Yeah.
people.
Well, that's what works. That's what's worked for Tesla. It's been that premium, luxury
Right.
lifestyle vehicle, because they can also handle the premium that you get when you spend big bucks for a battery. Those batteries aren't cheap.
And you think about this, what Ford is doing here is, we quickly overlook the fact that, they cut that deal with Volkswagen. And Volkswagen yesterday broke ground in Chattanooga to expand its production capacity. So they'll start building the ID Cross, which is what?
Well, have they
That's
talked
right,
about
an
building
electric-
a Ford down there too?
No.
An electric SUV.
But
Yeah.
will they?
So the Ford
but the
Volkswagen
Fords
deal
are gonna be
is
built with the
only
same
for
architectures.
Europe. Only for Europe. Ford has
really?
this Mustang. It's.
You can't talk about that.
I
So
can't
let's just
talk
move.
about it.
But
all
my
I
point
can say is
that
it's not the Volkswagen platform.
Okay.
And Ford has, because they've talked about this publicly, that electric F-150 coming.
Right.
So the Ford
And the
deal with
Rivian thing.
Volkswagen, for the time being, has nothing to do with North America.
They did make the announcement, though, about Electrify America is part of what they're doing.
Okay, yes.
So that's the
So their
Volkswagen thing.
apps are similar.
So no, so
The
it just
Volkswagen app and the Ford app
seems to
too.
me that what we have here is that these guys in Dearborn and those guys in Wolfsburg are very cleverly looking at, okay, what's the future going to look like?
Yeah.
And how are we going to be able to gain, some volume in this stuff.
Well, they're
So we
also
will not
working
have a
with our-
58% utilization.
They're also working with Argo, aren't they?
Right.
Isn't that also, there's a
Well,
Volkswagen,
VW and Ford, you know.
Right.
That's their autonomy.
Right. So,
group,
so I just
There's a
see
lot of
some people-
cooperation going on there.
So speaking of
Taking
Tesla,
some of the risk out, right?
speaking of Tesla, what do you guys make of them announcing, Elon saying, Berlin rocks, and we're gonna put a factory in Berlin, and we'll show those guys who are down in Stuttgart what's going on here.
Taking it right to the Germans, right to the heart of it.
Well, I got a hearty handshake in Germany the other day from Herbert Diess.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
it was
because he
all-
was on stage with all the cameras and
The
everything.
wrestling went on backstage.
Yeah, I'll bet Herbert went and washed his hands after that.
Well, so basically, okay, so people that don't know that basically the Model 3 won an award from Bild,
Right.
a German magazine, and it beat like the Audi A3, and the model, and there was another vehicle, I forget, but anyway, so the Model 3 won a prestigious award, and Herbert Diess gave this to Elon on stage, which, yeah, he must have been.
German cars have been winning American car awards for a long time.
Right.
Motor Trend Car of the Year, Best Driver's Car. I mean, German cars have been winning those awards for a while. So I kind of feel like, hey, tit for tat, an American car winning a big award from a German publication. That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Well, right, but I mean, and we did a thing on an article on this on Autoline Daily, I think it was yesterday, about how BMW has had its teeth kicked in by Tesla. And go look at sales of the Mercedes C-Class, the Audi A3,
In
and
California?
No, in the United States, all
overall?
Overall, they are down dramatically. I mean, I'm not talking just double digits, 20%. No, I'm talking 40 to 60% down.
So if you look at the Tesla Model S sales or Model
3
sales,
That's where it's
is
going.
it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's where it's going, and what's got to scare the hell out of the Germans is not only is Tesla stealing luxury, you have to look at just the luxury segment. That's where Tesla really plays. So not only is it taking all this market share out of the Germans, the average Model 3 is got a higher transaction price than any of the 3 cars I just mentioned. So it's a more expensive car stealing sales from them.
That has to be frightening.
And he also, Elon gave big props to German engineering when he was in Germany.
Oh yeah, when he's in China, he gives big props to China. That's what you do when you run a company like that.
I just sort of think that's sort of like damning with faint praise, though. I mean, because basically he's seeing the Germans coming at him, right?
Right.
And then he's just saying, yeah, you got really great engineers.
Look,
and, oh, by the way,
here's the big danger in Europe right now is you've got this 95 grams of CO2 per kilometer target that you got to hit next year. And nobody can do this on their own. FCA ran to Tesla and said, hey, let's cut a deal. We'll get your credits and blah, 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 blah. They haven't talked how much money is transacting. But FCA has got to buy Tesla credits for, I think, the next 3 years because they can't get there on their own. So the race is on now that if you can get enough BEV sales, you can get the credits to offset the rest of your line. But we all know that BEVs are coming into the market faster than consumers are ready to buy them.
Yes.
So if Tesla comes in and ba-boom, gets it's more than its lion's share of BEV credits, every other automaker in Europe is screwed.
So Tesla gets paid twice.
Yes.
So the customers buy the cars, and then the
then they
Germans have
sell
to buy the credits.
Right. And here's the other wrinkle. The Chinese are coming into the European market, and they're coming in with electric cars that are nicely styled, nicely appointed, for up to $10,000 cheaper than anything that's being sold in Europe. So now they're going to go and get some of this market share of credits. I think at some point the European auto industry is going to be up in arms. They don't like Tesla, we know it, even though Herbert Diess played nice with Elon on stage while the cameras were running. But I think there's going to be a big backlash by the European auto industry to all these Chinese cars coming in. But what are they going to do? Because they've made a fortune in China.
right.
So they can't go to the Chinese and go, hey, no, you're destroying our industry. So I see big problems coming with this grams per CO2 credit scheme that they've got going.
So how do things look here?
Well, I mean, dealers today make more money on used cars than they make on new cars, per vehicle. And, certified pre-owned, that's a big deal. I mean, you talk about, what's happening. I think the industry is slowing down. And the question becomes, how hard are the brakes going to be applied? Is it going to be an abrupt, stop, or are they actually going to hit a wall at some point? And it's starting to look a lot more like a wall than a safe stop.
We'll see.
Me.
I mean, I'll make the observation that in my career, I have never seen car sales go down in a presidential election year. It's just a happy coincidence, I'm sure. But I think car sales will be reasonably good in the U.S. next year. But then, what's the payback going to be?
Well, I just saw some numbers because as I look at bizarre numbers, this came out from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York today, and they basically were talking about debt, and auto debt this last quarter was up $18 billion. It's up $50 billion for the year. So it seems to me that there are people who are living beyond their means, shall we say, and at some point, those proverbial chickens that people are chasing after are going to come home to roost.
I'm not scared by those numbers, and I'll tell you why. I just learned an interesting statistic. 27% of everybody who applied for a loan or a lease to get a new car this year have been turned down. 27%. So new car sales could be much, much better if these people could only get their hands on the money. Why can't they get it? We've really tightened up our credit standards.
Yes, that's true.
So the subprime market isn't quite what it was even just a couple of years ago. And it was because of these numbers that you're looking at that the banking regulators and industry went, we need to tighten up right now before this becomes a problem. So I don't think it's a problem right now. But that's an awful lot of people that are getting turned down.
Still
Almost
an awful lot of
30%.
debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Hey, look, we've run a little long
that
here.
cheery note.
Yeah, that cheery note.
Yeah.
So many
Go
cheery
buy a car.
Yeah.
Go buy a Mustang.
Yeah, well, Ford will take your $500 deposit for the electric Mach-E, and don't even get me started on the name.
Is that a refundable deposit, by the way?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it
But the
is.
price of the vehicle hasn't been announced yet. I think they
no.
said they were going to announce
Yeah,
it.
it has
as
not
of
been
late.
announced.
It's not been announced.
Right. You'll
John
know
will announce it on Sunday.
Okay.
on Sunday. We can talk more
Sunday
about that.
night.
Right. But anyway, interesting show today. Wow, and this Caresoft stuff, unbelievable.
That's like magic.
Right.
And the ice cream is good, too.
That's great. Jack Keebler, thanks. It's
Very
been
welcome.
great having you back on the show again.
It was fun, always.
And Gary, we'll just keep on doing this.
All right.
And of course, want to thank all of you for having tuned in.
Autoline After Hours is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, your journey, our passion. Lear, a global leader in automotive seating and electrical systems. Borg Warner, propulsion solutions that support a clean, energy-efficient world. And by DIA MTS, for advanced manufacturing machinery and lightweight components.
Visit our website, Autoline.tv, where you can watch us live Thursday afternoons. Get your daily fix with Autoline Daily and in-depth analysis and interviews with Autoline This Week. There's all that and much more at Autoline.tv.